Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. If you hear strange noise in the background, it's a fan. It is Memorial Day weekend. It's about 104 outside right now with thunderstorms in the area. Of course, not falling here. That said, one of the issues I've come across recently, oil filter on the Duster will not budge, period. The problem we have there is clearance. I've never had any issues in the past. I just typically get things hand tight. I'm able to spin it off. I run wicks on it, and again, I've never ever had any trouble, and now I do. If you are like me and you're used to doing your own oil changes, you'll know that as long as you don't tighten it down like a gorilla at the factory, you are golden in most cases. If you ever do, for example on the Challenger, when we got it, right, came from the factory as installed, had to bust this thing out. Don't really use this too often, but every once in a while it comes in handy, and it's almost used exclusively on brand new filters. Whether it's a lawnmower or a car or friend's vehicle that they just got, it's almost always a factory installed filter. Now the problem I have, there is no clearance on the Duster. In fact, I guess I could spin you over there real quick to kind of show you what we're up against. So as I come over, if you can see down there, which I don't know that you can, there will be a black item. There's a tube off the header, right? Right here. And then down you can sort of see that's an old Wix with the NASCAR emblem on it, right? There is obviously the primary tube in the way. There's a transmission dipstick in the way. There's the fender in the way. If you come in from the bottom side thinking you've got it, you got the collector and the primary tubes. I never remember having problems in the past. I don't know if my hands have gotten bigger, if the motor mount sunk a little, but that is a pain in the ass, and this is why I have bought what we bought. So let's get back over here to the table and see what we can do. This is the Channellock 212. I picked it up from Summit Racing. Price was about $18.99, I believe. There is a 215. It is going to be larger. The price on that is $23.99. You can pick these up as a set for 41 bucks, somewhere in there. So I think you save $1 if you stack them collectively. What I did here, my logic was, I'm in a tight space, I need the smaller version. And just to kind of run you through the specs here, comparing the two. The 212, it's a 12-inch overall length. The 215 would be a 15.5, so we're adding 3.5 inches. In a lot of situations, that would be desirable in my opinion. Increased capacity, extra torque, etc. This is not a typical situation. This is a space-confined driven purchase. So the perk of the 215, they're both going to have a 177 span. The 215 is actually about a pound heavier, 2.08 pounds. The 212s here on the bench, they come in at 111. 2.5 to 3 3/4. That's going to be what we can grab with the 212s. The 215s, on the other hand, are going to start at 2.5, so they have the same minimum capacity. You're giving nothing else up, but you can go all the way up to 4.5 inches on your filters. Of course, you can use these with PVC fittings and conduit as well. And my application at this point in time, I'm only concerned about the oil filter. Obviously, if you're trying to save cash, you don't want to buy the set. You're just going to need it like a one-time use type of a deal, and then whenever you might in the future, you're going to want to go by the diameter of your oil filter. So, as I happen to luck out, pretty much all of my oil filters are about 3.6, somewhere in that range, under 3 3/4, which is the maximum. So we just barely will fit in, but I thought the shorter handles and the greater leeway there would help me out. So if you're curious, since this is kind of a Mopar based channel, we're just going to go off Wix. The Frams, they're going to all generally be the same outside diameter, give or take a little bit. The Wix 51515, which that's actually, Fram PH8A, big block Chrysler, if you will, 3.661 OD. The Wix 51085, which that's basically a Fram PH16, that's going to clock in at 3660, so almost dead even between those two. And then what I run on the Mopar 10 is I still just use a factory branded one, MO899. That's going to be for your 5.7 Hemi. That one would be Can't tell if I wrote 600 or 660, but they're all pretty much 3.6. We can just kind of round it off there, right? So this is going to get the job done with that, and again, for me personally, the length was a big deal. So, on these 212s, overall length, once again, is going to be 12 inches. The jaw length is 2.52 inches. If we come in, joint thickness is going to be 0.039. The handle span, 177. Jaw capacity, this is what you want to keep in mind. If your filter is larger than 4.25, you're going to have to step up, even if you have space constraints. If you want to go with this route of a oil filter plier, you're going to have to step up to the 215s. Weight only 1.11, which is not too bad in your hand at all. Again, that's typically not an issue, except when you're in a tight space. The lighter of a tool you have to maneuver, the better off we're going to be. There are 5 adjustments on this one, and again, we can go from 2.5 to 3.75 inches maximum. And just in case you forgot, Summit Racing is where I sourced mine, primarily because of shipping. I'm not going to lie, that Arlington location is coming in really handy. I get this next day ground UPS, essentially, and so that's where we stand. You can find it maybe $1 or $2 cheaper here or there, but you know, for me, getting it the next day was kind of a big deal. So the 212, it is made entirely in the USA, as is most of the Channellock lineup. Again, they kind of list out the specs: 2.5 to 3.75 inch capacity. So quite clean, pretty nice. Right here you get a right angle teeth, they grip better. High carbon steel for superior performance, and an ultimate rust preventative coating. It's got a Permalock fastener which eliminates nut and bolt failures, and it's got the Channellock blue comfort grips. And of course, most importantly for many of us, it is made in the USA, Medville, Pennsylvania. So, is the blister pack a pain to get off? Let's find out. Got a tear there, got a tear there. Not too bad. The biggest challenge is actually working with the tripod, I'll say. So, there we are. I like that. Keep in mind, they probably wouldn't have to do anything if A, they didn't need to hang these for display, and 2, if people would stop stealing things when they're loose. So, there were, I believe, what, 6 adjustments on this one, or were there 5? May have been 5 adjustments. I think there are 6 on the other. Let's just flip it around, and we can count 1, obviously, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're probably going to be down here at the bottom, I would assume. This will kind of give you an idea of the span. Sort of hard to get that all in the frame. But again, I am in a very weird predicament here where I've got the fenders sloping downward. We've got the primary tube off the 8th cylinder. And then, of course, we've got the dipstick coming up from the transmission. And then we've got torsion bars and suspension components down below. It's basically a terrible situation to find yourself. So, obviously, if you've got anything small, or this would actually be kind of more common. I feel like most people around the house, a homeowner, you might have PVC this size. It would handle that as well if you ever needed something in those situations. But I believe we will be down here in this final position, and we're going to hopefully be able to break it free 10 to 15 degrees at a time. This is a situation I'm not going to be able to just get this on there and break it free. We're going to have to hope that we can catch and have enough leeway somehow of a strange angle we could position this. And if I can get, you know, like the first 15-20 degrees out of the 360 just to break it free, then I can monkey around, get my hand in there, get the oil filter out, and the new one installed. So that is pretty much it. It's got a nice solid feel, as you would expect. I'm sorry that's a little bit blurry, still learning the new camera. But we have got sort of the groove teeth here, and obviously on the bottom jaw. So the idea is if you're working, say, max capacity like we would be, we would wind up having a situation where these outer 2 jaws would be what would make contact. If you're coming in, say, working on something smaller, you might even wind up with this catching as opposed to the outer 2. So it's nice to have the flexibility, but again, for me, it's one specific application. And moving forward, though, I will actually use these. I think I would actually find them much easier to use than the traditional oil filter wrench, which you can pick these up dirt cheap. This was a hand-me-down. It was just in my grandfather's toolbox. So, like I said, the few times I've had to use it, it has gotten the job done, but it was kind of kind of a pain, so we'll see if this isn't an upgrade. But again, for me personally, the 212s won out because I needed the smallest profile to kit into a really tight spot. So we'll see if we ever get to use it in the future, but of course right there, if we can get it to focus. You got USA, got the Channellock number 212 on that. I'm sure I will rub that off before I ever need to replace these, but hopefully we'll still have internet and videos and I can look back on it that way. But yeah, there's plenty of space here if you want to etch your name in. You can do that on either side just fine. But yeah, if you've ever held a pair of Channellocks, the grip is pretty much the same. I did bring in some OctoBlues. I don't believe they make them in their oil filter line. I was just curious if they were any better because this really doesn't bother me. I typically don't get calluses or blisters when using these. That said, I had a really nasty one on my thumb the other day, but just kind of a freak deal. I had it cutting about 50 foot of copper, and it came back. That said, though, if you do a lot of oil changes, if you're like the neighborhood, if you're retired, semi-retired type of a deal, something like this is actually a pretty good investment. I do believe it to be a superior design. I've used these at a friend's shop before. Don't believe it was Channellock, but it was a similar styled plier, if you will. And like I said, in my situation, we're up a creek, so I'm going to see what I can't do. I will say, out of all the cars that I personally own, the Duster is by far the biggest pain in the butt. And it is a small block. So there we go. If it was a big block, I think it'd be a little bit easier, but then we'd have radiator hoses, fans, all that front accessory stuff to deal with. But I'm excited to see if these work. We will probably spin this around and I'll see if I can break it free, and we'll chalk that up as a success. If not, we got a pretty badass pair of pliers that we will hopefully be able to use at some point in the future. $18.99 from Summit. You can find them all over the place, local hardware stores, Home Depot, Lowe's. If you got a Do It Best or an Ace, I think they stock them. If you get in a buying type of situation, might pay a little bit more, but hey, sometimes, like I said, when you need something, you need it. And I will leave it at that. Maybe we'll spin it around. We'll see if I can get lucky and break this thing free. My apologies, the lighting under hood is apparently going to suck, but we'll see what we can't do. So stay tuned, and I shall catch you back. So, I don't know about you. The last 5 minutes of my life have been interesting. We're getting close to the point we might tear a hole in the sidewall of the filter beforehand. I've tried multiple different configurations here. This is that little Econo light work light we've showcased. It's working pretty good. It's not ideal for me having a camera simultaneously working, but I think I finally got this dang thing to spin. I realize it's not focusing, but one of my hands has to be on the pliers, at least. This is just like the worst case scenario you could probably ever have for this application. The pliers have been stuck multiple times. But yeah, I think my 15 degrees initial estimate there is a little bit ambitious. You can see the damage we're doing to the filter. If it would focus, you could anyway. That shiny spot, that's not the NASCAR label anymore. That's where the teeth have dug into it. I realize that's not showing up to you yet, so I guess there's not much point in this. But, like I said, the reason that I picked these up was specifically for this terrible, terrible application. And that I hope none of you ever come across, but I'm sure you will. Like I said, typically it's a tight fit, but I can just spin it off by hand. And this time that is not the case. So I think I'm going to get it. I think we've turned it ever so slightly, not enough for me to be able to spin it free. But myself and the 212s, we're going to continue our quest here to get it off. And we'll report. You didn't think I was going to leave you hanging, did you? Not that cruel. Now, there's some battle scars on it. I know they're not showing up too great there. You can kind of see it a little better. Imagine, if you will, the Wix logo and their little yellow date code thing. That's pretty much torn off. I will say one of the perks of the new work light being LED based, look, I mean, I'll go in full fingertip, there's no heat there. With an old work light, I would be sweating bullets right now. But I tell you, it wasn't quick, it wasn't easy. But these Channellock 212s, they got the job done. I'd say it was like 1 to 3 degrees at a time, but eventually we made it full circle here. And if I wedge my hand down in there up against the brake line and the shock tower, we can actually turn this bad boy by hand, which means we did it. We accomplished what we wanted to. The thunderstorm hit outside, the water's parted, whatever you want to say, the oil filter is free. So, if I can, I don't know if I can, do you see it? Let me see. Keep your eye on the yellow. There's my traffic finger and the one next to it. I think that's a ring finger, I'm not sure. Look at that, we're turning it. Can you believe it? And this is why you never tighten the shit out of an oil filter. That was ridiculous. It's still going to be a pain to get the filter, not spill it, and get it out and get the new one on and in, but I assure you, it will get done. If these are a one-time use tool, they did a fantastic job for me. That's what I'm concerned about. Channellock 212s, 19 bucks. This was a necessity purchase. I couldn't have broke that free by hand. There's not enough space in there. Maybe if we take the headers off, that's another story. But by gosh, we did it. So, not only did we showcase the tool, unbox it, run over the specs, we showed it in action. We showed why we bought it, and it got the job done for us. So, I thank you kindly for watching. Subscribe if you have not. Leave a like. Your support is always appreciated. If you got a better idea on how to handle this, you've got similar nightmare stories from the past, feel free to share them. People enjoy that sort of a thing. But I've got this filter. I'm going to spin it off, try not to make a mess. And after that, we've got some more stuff to take a look at, so I shall see you shortly. Victory March continues. Channellock 212s with the win. We got the job done. This is what's left of the filter. We didn't beat it up too bad. I mean, I've seen far, far worse, but that was nuts, man. You can see all 540 dimples as we had to turn it 1 degree at a time to spin it free. I've never had a situation like that in my life. I hope I never have another. We got it done. Channellock's win. Once again, God bless America. God bless Channellock. And even though it was a pain, God bless the small block Mopar. Thanks for watching. We will catch you back here in the next one. Adios.